Hello, my name's Andrew Friedrich. Today I'm doing my presentation on the invention of the laser. Alright, so in the beginning, the principles came from Einstein, um, his theory, one of his theories, but it started with inventions which began with the military. In 1948, the Pentagon provided Columbia University with the funds to hire a new team of physicists. And one of these guys was named Charles Towns. 3 years later, Towns completed work on what he called a maser, which stands for microwave amplification by the stimulated emission of radiation. The maser was the first device to take the theory of physics and put it into practical use. It later won Towns a Nobel Prize. Its uses were limited, but the real prize was Towns quickly realized was a device to amplify and concentrate radiation at a much higher frequency, being visible light. Then soon Gordon Gould came into the mix. Towns didn't really know it, but someone else was working on the laser, which was Gordon Gould. During a conversation with Towns, one of his graduate students, which was Gordon Gould, picked up the idea of an optical maser and began to work on it in his spare time. That eventually replaced his thesis research, and Columbia and Towns both dismissed him as an unfocused physicist who would never make it. Soon after that, Gould took his ideas for the laser coming off the maser to the Pentagon's Advanced Research Projects Agency, and they were a government department designed to encourage long-term research with potentially large payoffs. They seized on the idea and provided him with 4 times the funding it requested. They requested enough money to hire 4 teams to work on separate prototypes. On December 15th, 1958, Gould submitted a patent application that sketched out the principles behind the laser, the same principles that appeared unknown to Gould in a paper published a day earlier by Charles Towns. With the idea of the laser out in the open now, so many people wanted to jump on it. So Bell Labs put 3 teams on it, and with the resources from AT&T's telephone monopoly, were considered the favorites. But both Bell and Columbia took the wrong track. Following Towns' paper, most people assumed that the easiest material to simulate a gas and that solids with more complicated internal structure would prove too difficult. Soon after that, Gould and what he was working with, well, they didn't make a mistake at first. That mistake that that Bell and Columbia both did, and DARPA and the research wing of the government believed in Gould and the laser. But this was shortly after the McCarthy era, and the security wing still held a great deal of power. Check into Gould's background revealed decades of old activity in leftist groups, and over DARPA's strong objections, he was not allowed to work on his own project anymore. With other groups struggling, another military contractor, Howard Hughes, and his Hughes Research Laboratories entered the mix. This time, it was with a contract from the Army Signal Corps. The contract called for further research into microwave masers, but allowed Hughes Labs to hire Ted Maiman and put him to work on an optical maser. Like everyone else, Maiman had read Towns' paper, but he was not convinced that a solid-state laser would not work. In fact, because of his background in engineering, Maiman insisted on working with a solid. If it worked, he argued, it would produce a much more practical laser than a finicky gas version. Finally, on May 16, 1960, Maiman built the first laser, which stands for Light Amplification by the Stimulated Emission of Radiation. He began with a synthetic ruby rod, coated the ends with silver, leaving a small hole in one end for the beam to come out, and placed the rod inside an ordinary photo flash lamp. When he turned the flash on, it excited the atoms inside the ruby, causing them to glow. The light waves from the glow stimulated other atoms in the ruby to emit more light waves, which bounced around inside the rod until they built up enough power to emerge through the hole as a coherent ruby red light beam. The government has backed several more like it candidates, but in the end, Ted Maiman gave it and us the laser. Gould, after being discredited and not being allowed to work on his project anymore, even though that happened, he is still widely credited with the invention of the laser, but not universally. He's best known for his 30-year fight with the United States Patent and Trademark Office to obtain patents for the laser and related technologies. He also fought with laser manufacturers in court battles to enforce the patents he subsequently did obtain. Sorry. And that's it. So ultimately, the Ted Maimon is credited with the invention of the laser, but Gordon Gould is still was a very influential part and is still credited widely, even though he's not the universally known inventor of the laser. Thank you.